Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on.
A lot of people are realizing Superman, that brand had everyone curious to just check it out. And then, so that helped it for the first 2 weeks of Superman. They only had like a 55% drop, 58%, I think, second weekend drop. Then it really started dropping, and then they pulled it, according to co-head of Netflix, Ted Sarandos. So you got by that, that curiosity for Superman, and that was just domestically. It was tanking internationally, but that dried up. You can't use that curiosity anymore. So it was hard for Superman to really tank last summer. But now it's happening to Supergirl, and hey, this was just necessary. This was necessary. The 38 million domestic box office launch is just a bit above Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey opened at 33 million. Got 205 million worldwide. Although his run was cut short by the pandemic. But it was cut short, but with Birds of Prey, what was the... I think it had a decent cinema score too. Birds of Prey cinema score. I think it had like a B+. Yeah, B+. So it had Birds of Prey had a soft opening, because you can't blame the pandemic on the soft opening. At a soft opening, 33 million. Only a B+. So that film wasn't going to make money with or without the pandemic. It wasn't going to make money. What was the second week? Weekend box office, Birds of Prey. What was the second weekend of that? So it had a 50% drop. So yeah, that's pretty much where it was at. It actually was a 48%. It actually had a decent hold, but I mean, it could have legged out a little bit more money. The thing is, the word of mouth for Supergirl is much worse than Birds of Prey. It says Supergirl is performing more like the latter DC films that marked the end of the previous regime's reign. Blue Beetle opened to 23 million and grossed just 131 million worldwide. The Flash opened to 55 million. You can't put Flash in this situation. Flash did much better than this. I'm just saying, it's like they're trying to... This is one of the biggest bombs. Even Blue Beetle, I think, had a better, worldwide opening, I believe. Flash is doubling the money of this. You can't put Flash in this situation no more. I know a lot of people don't like the Flash film, but hey, there still has a special place in my heart. Flash, there's levels to this. Flash didn't do this bad. So the numbers raise serious questions about the future of Gunn's DC cinematic universe under the new regime. Perfect, right? His approach of highlighting lesser-known comic book characters, which worked wonders in Marvel with Guardians, thanks to Nicole Perlman. Nicole Perlman did all the research of those characters. She had the skeleton of everything. Gunn just had to throw his juice on it. This doesn't have the same appeal at a time when mainstream fans are growing weary of comic book adaptations. I don't think that's what I don't like when people keep saying this comic book fatigue. It really is a bad quality fatigue. That's all it is. Deadpool Wolverine wasn't the best Marvel film ever, but it gave us what we wanted. When we go to see a CBM, Deadpool Wolverine gave you what you wanted. Avengers Doomsday is going to give you what you want. What we don't want is Thunderbolts. Those a decent film. That should have been a streaming film. We don't want Sam Wilson Cap. Again, that's another streaming type level. Give us events, give us comic books, made into life, panel to screen. That's what Spider-Man's about to do. Brand new day. They're bringing panels to the screen. We don't want this quirky stuff and Jimmy Olsen and other. We don't want that. So that's all. It's a quality problem. The 68 million global launch for Supergirl movie is not what the new DC wanted. While Supergirl didn't meet our box office expectations, it's just one component of a broader, long-term strategy at DC Studios that we remain confident in, Safran told New York Times on Sunday. So long-term, you could say it's just one misstep. We're not forgetting what happened with Peacemaker Season 2. There was a lot of bad press about that finale and the viewership. This is all the DCU. Next up was Supergirl, one of the biggest bombs ever. And you got to wear this one for the rest of this summer. Lantern's going to be more bad publicity. I mean, it's going to be one thing after another. You can't hide from this anymore. So yeah, Lanterns. To be honest, we need Lanterns to be panned by fans, not just because it's one thing they want to turn this into people hate women and things like that. It's like, nah, it's not what this is about. It's a quality problem. Leadership needs to change with DC. They need to see this failure, see their flaws, the blood on their hands. Lanterns needs to fail. I'm just saying it needs to fail. Clayface, I know Clayface ain't doing nothing. The only thing they can save Clayface, they better put Batman in it. I don't think they are allowed to though. So Clayface will fail too. Then it ain't gonna be we just have one misstep. No, you about to have 4 in a row. That's a sweep in sports. You lose 4 times in a row. Peacemaker Season 2, Supergirl, Lanterns, Clayface. That's a sweep. Goodbye. Or it could be a gentleman's sweep. Maybe you won game 1. Superman, you got a quote unquote win. Then you have 4 losses in a row. It's over. That's what's about to happen. To make matters worse, Supergirl received a B- cinema score, indicating even the hardcore fans that showed up opening weekend weren't won over by the film. See, that's how Cinema Score works. I've been covering Cinema Score since with the late great Mikey Sutton. We've been doing that. I started doing that like 5 years ago. That's why I stopped using Rotten Tomatoes or stopped giving Rotten Tomatoes any credit, because you got the critic side of Rotten Tomatoes. We don't care about what the critics say, but on the audience side, that can still be spammed a little bit too for Rotten Tomatoes audience. So I was like, I don't like that whole system. I'd rather go by Cinema Score. Sometimes you can get an indication from audience Rotten Tomatoes, but it's about those who shows up opening weekend. It's not some online campaign. It's not Fox News attacking one side or the other. That's not why this film did not perform. It's the hardcore fans that show up day one, and they're the ones that graded it. The word of mouth is not good overall for that. Then it says here it's only going to get tougher this week with Minions coming out. Though that's tracking a little bit. I think it's like 90. I think it's tracking like a 90 million. You got Toy Story 5 doing wonderful. And it says it's extremely unlikely Supergirl will match the Flash by the end of his run. It won't. And it's definitely not reaching the 300. While not directed by Gunn, Craig Gillespie was handpicked to direct after he pitched on the project. See, so Gillespie, I don't think this was his vision at all. I really don't like just hearing how this film went. This was a bad partnership right there. Supergirl was chosen by him and Safran, by Gunn and Safran, as the second DC movie as part of their strategy to build a unified approach to these comics adaptations. It was somewhat an odd choice, made stranger by the fact that the cast failed to net any major movie stars to serve as an extra draw. We had Momoa. What are you talking about? Yeah, Momoa. And they shoved him in there. I guess unrecognizable, but again, I heard he's actually a bright spot in the film. And then you had Superman. Again, that's why I keep using the example of Marvel. When you have Iron Man, then Incredible Hulk comes out. If you would have put Tony Stark in the trailer for Incredible Hulk, you know, that box office, it would have carried over from Iron Man seamlessly. But Supergirl they used Superman in the marketing. And that wasn't a draw. They used Momoa in the marketing. And no one cared. This is a brand problem. It was fool's gold last summer. That's what it was with Superman 2025. Fool's gold. Everyone's like, DC's back, DC's back. Where did it go? Because it ain't back here. It ain't back right now. The next DC movie, Clayface, a scaled-down horror riff that opens in theaters this fall, similarly lacks a movie star. Though, again, with Clayface, you got that genre, that low-budget horror genre, which is actually doing great right now with Obsession and Back Rooms. So you would think, hey, maybe, you can strike with that one. I just don't trust the story. I don't trust they took the original script of Clayface from Mike Flanagan, and they publicly said they pretty much rewritten it. Flanagan said this to us. Mike Flanagan was warning us last year. Hey, I just sold them the script. They're doing their own thing with it. They chopped that story up. It's not going to be based off the Batman animated series, Feet of Clay. No, it's not. Like they tried to say, the Supergirl is based off Woman of Tomorrow. I keep hearing, no, it's really not that story. So I expect the same thing with Clayface. We're not getting a real adaptation. So I do worry about that film. Some industry insiders who spoke to the Wrap say the problems run deeper than one underperforming film. All this is a Gunn and Safran production deal. Uh-oh. One DC insider said of DC Films' current trajectory, it's not a brand. Announcing a universe was dumb. DC created an expectation, and now you have delivered one Superman movie. Yo. This is over. This is over. Okay. This is. I didn't read all this before we went live here. They're done. They're done. Again, this is what the insiders are saying. This was just a production deal. That means like, hey, they're not even really running this. I told you there's other DC execs. This is just the package that Gunn pitched to Zaslav right before Black Adam came out. Gunn was trying to do his quirky Elseworlds, do the Gunverse. He was going to do his Creature Commandos, Peacemaker Season 2. He pitched his Jimmy show 4 years ago. And then once they got co-head DC Studios, they was like, okay, we can kind of play with more toys now. Let's put Supergirl here, make it a super family thing. This is just a production deal. They're done. They're done. This is over. Like, after reading that, I know this is over. And they got that 6-month extension. It's over. But again, I think they should be gone before April. But they're not getting a new contract. They're not getting a new contract. This is over. That's a great quote right here, y'all. This is a great quote right here. It's over, y'all. Yeah. They just got a production deal, man. That's why they putting out all this low budget stuff. They can't do Batman. They can't do Wonder Woman. I guarantee there's no way. There's no way they can do Batman or Wonder Woman. This was the Gunverse. This is just a Gunn Safran production deal, and they can play with a certain amount of characters. With the merger looming, a top agent even questioned whether Gunn survives the fallout. I don't know how nervous DC is, but certainly James Gunn should be nervous, the agent said. There will always be a DC. The current execs have survived previous regime changes, but I don't think Gunn survives. You see what we're saying here again? They try to make it like, oh, just Gunn calling all the shots, Gunn and Safran. Oh, there's other DC execs. Now, they've survived regimes. I think some of them needs to be fired too. It's DC brand execs. And then DC Studios, all this is a Gunn Safran production deal. That's all it is. They only can use a certain amount of characters. They can't use Batman. It's not happening. I don't think there's any way. Wonder Woman, nope. Not going to happen. Great quote right there, man. Oh, man. Now you got a WB insider push back on concern over Gunn and Safran's larger strategy or any potential leadership changes to be made by Ellison. First off, you Warner Brothers insider, Ellison's going to be over you. Okay, so I really don't care what they're yapping right now. Ellison's going to come in and say, no, who had a hand in this? Okay, this Gunn and Safran production deal is over. Okay. Whoever had a hand in mishandling Supergirl, you're fired. So it don't matter what this insider is saying. Ellison's going to be, they can't come out and say what Ellison's going to do because they don't know if they're going to be there. But this insider says, they're reiterating, they have a 10-year DC plan and Supergirl was just a single film miss. What about Peacemaker season 2? What about what's going to happen with Lanterns? What's going to happen with Clayface? The insider said the studio is disappointed with the film's performance, adding, the character didn't connect. This is the problem, though. This is the problem. That producer, we talked about his quote like over a week ago, where he was like, yeah, Supergirl, it was at the premiere. He's like, yeah, we're excited for Supergirl. And she's a big part in Man of Tomorrow. And we're thinking of another film with Supergirl. If the character didn't connect here, why do you think she'll be a draw for other films? If the general audience has rejected Supergirl and their answer is, oh, let's put her in more stuff. Nah. Now, again, I don't think Millie Alcock's a problem. This is a brand problem. This is a marketing problem. The answer, this is a bad quote from them. Oh, the character just didn't connect, but you're planning this stupid super family stuff and you're shoving her and everything. She's not selling. But again, thankfully, it's not up to them. Ellison's going to come in with his data, his people. Some of those DC execs need to go. Again, when Gunn and Safran are already done. They're done. It's just a production deal. They're done. Great quote. I love that quote. They're out. These other DC execs, whoever was a part of this mishandling, they're going to be out. Whoever said, oh, the solution to the Supergirl bombing is to put her in more stuff, they're going to be fired. Okay. It's a wrap. I talked about it on social media because, again, it's not this whole thing of, women-led films don't sell and men hate women. Again, Wonder Woman 2017, Captain Marvel, though it was a Marvel machine, Captain Marvel did over $1 billion. So it's not if it's a woman lead. Is it a crappy film? And this final product, just according to the general audience, they're saying it was not up to par. That is what it is. Then on top of that, because I see even some Snyder fans kind of buying into, oh, maybe it was misogyny. We're not aligned with Fox News and Nerdrotic. You got people out there, they really do hate women. There are some people they're scared of women. Everything's woke, and that's not again. I'm talking about Still Nation. It could be people in the fandom, in the Snyder fandom, and they rock with that worldview. That's not what we're here for. I'm not here to promote that. I'm not here to be a part of that crazy campaign with Fox News and stuff. No. They got smoke for James Gunn over political reasons. We're not the same. We're not the same with that. You know, and I don't want to be mixed up in things like that. We have our own reasons of hating James Gunn's movies. Okay. So I'll just keep it at that. But with all that being said, despite all this misogyny talk, 60% of the audience was men that showed up for Supergirl. Women didn't show up. As it says here, Gen Z women did not show up to see this film. And that's why it flopped. That's the problem with that. That's marketing. That's execs. They failed this film. The way they edited it, people said it felt like stuff was cut out. It was like 25 minutes missing of this film. BVS, right? That's exec problems right there. How do you miss your target audience? Did you test this? You didn't even test this with Gen Z women then. Whose fault is that? That's Gunn and Safran and any other DC exec that had a hand in this. And Ellison's going to see this, and it's over. Supergirl missed on a lot of levels, the insider acknowledged, while another studio insider underlined the biggest problem. You can't launch a non-A tier superhero with a budget this big anymore. That's true. The bar for profitability is too high. That is true. If they could have kept this under 100 million, and suppose they went to different planets all in the film, all across the film, if they could have lowered the locations down, spent less money, maybe and again, market it better. Like, this is stuff we shouldn't have to tell them this. Shout out to Carlos. He's talking about something totally off topic. Okay. We shouldn't have to tell these execs this anymore, man. How to market these films. Yet another DC reboot. DC Studios was born out of chaos. After Gunn and Safran took over DC in 2023, hand selected by Warner Brothers, Zaslav hand selected them. They laid out their plans. Oh, and I like how they finally said this, right? People always say, oh, DeLuca and Abdi selected Gunn and Safran. No. This was from Zaslav. This is just a production deal for Gunn and Safran. DeLuca and Abdi didn't sign them to that. That was Zaslav. DeLuca and Abdi was actually trying to course correct with Aquaman 2 and the Flash film, bringing back Cavill, bringing back Ben for Aquaman. The ending of the Flash was totally different, and other parts in the Flash film was different. And then I heard when Gunn and Safran was initially hired or brought on for the Gunverse, DeLuca and Abdi was shut out of any other DC talk. Like Zaslav dismissed them out of the room. Was like, yeah, you're not here to talk about DC. This is Gunn and Safran now. So it wasn't DeLuca and Abdi that hired James Gunn. So I'm glad they said that. See, that's why this story here, people see Humberto Gonzalez. They're like, oh, this is gonna be all fluff. No, it's two people writing this article. I think Humberto has the positive quotes from Warner Brothers, and then the other guy's bringing out the real in this article. It says that they laid out their plans. Yeah, they were kicked out of the room. Yeah. I reported that as soon as it happened. I was like, yeah, I'm hearing Luca and Abby, they got just dismissed out of the DC talks. It was like, Zaza was like, okay, y'all can't be in the room when we talk about DC. They couldn't even see the slate. I don't know how many times I'm clicking this thing. Okay, here we go. They laid out their plans to finally make this work. It came at a fraught time for the brand. Is it Snyder's DCEU sputtered out? Well, okay, I'm glad they said it like this. After he was ousted while making Justice League, a power vacuum led to a scatter strategy. At one point, positioned The Rock as center of its cinematic universe. Those were the days. With the box office disappointment of Black Adam, audiences quickly rejected that notion. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they made mistakes too, as far as launching Black Adam. I think they should have leaned more into Henry Cavill as part of the film. It could have done better, but I've been saying that for 4 years now, right? So Gunn and Safran promised fans things will be different, namely because they would oversee everything. It is the first time ever that everything DC related, film, television, live action, animation, gaming, is all centralized under one creative vision, that of James and myself, Safran explained to the press in 2023. Though this really wasn't true. This was just like a name only, face only. This was just a production deal. They wasn't really having a vision and animation. What gaming? They really wasn't. They're not doing anything with gaming. As the guy said earlier, this earlier quote, they should have never announced the universe. Gunn and Safran was brought on to produce a certain amount of projects over here, all part of this Gunn verse that he pitched. Obscure characters. Then it's like, okay, now we can try to connect everything. Let's scramble and do that. And we see it didn't work. This is a major blemish. This shows your foundation did not hold after Superman 2025. And you threw everything you could into this version of the Supergirl film using Superman, using Momoa, thinking the fans will return for more. And then they didn't. What does this mean for Man of Tomorrow? What can you're not going to be able to use Wonder Woman. You can't use Batman. You're just praying you have repeat business next summer. That's not going up. That's not a trajectory going up. It's either going to stay the same or it's going to go down. And now the critics ain't just being nice. They're not just, kiss and tell anymore with James Gunn. And it says Gunn would take the reins himself. He not only directed the first film, also wrote the entirety of the HBO Max series Peacemaker, 2 seasons worth, and the animated series Creature Commandos. Why was Gunn writing and directing everything? Because this was just a production deal. That's all this was. This just guaranteed Gunn's going to have a handful of projects. Then when it's time to get someone else involved, hey, you can go ahead and do this Supergirl. Okay, let me get my project in. Okay, hey, you can do this little Clayface thing. Let me get my friends on to do Lanterns. All this stuff ain't really connected. Gunn also touted lessons learned from his time at Marvel, saying no DC movie will ever be greenlit without a locked screenplay. We're not going to be making movies before the screenplay is finished. And if that means our plan has to shift a little bit, well, it's going to happen. We're not going to be making movies and putting hundreds of millions of dollars into a film where a screenplay is only 2/3 of the way done. We have to finish it while we're making the movie. I've seen it happen again and again. It's a mess. And I think it's a primary reason of the deterioration of quality of films today versus 20, 30 years ago. So then what happened with Supergirl, Gunn? Because he was talking strong these past couple years. these past 3 or 4 years, he was talking real strong. Like, hey, I figured out, I cracked the code. We need this rock solid scripts. So what happened? Got some explaining to do, man. Actually, we already know what it is. You're just a glorified co-CEO. Name only. This was just a production deal. They laid out 10 projects that would make up the bulk of their initial launch, starting with Superman. Now, I'm telling you, this article, a lot of this is not Humberto Gonzalez, y'all. It's the other guy bringing the real. They bring in the real with this. Amazing. Superman was a resounding success. Gunn's casting of David Cornsweet, Rachel Brosnahan, Nicholas Hoult was praised by all. And the film was a hit with both fans and critics, grossing $618 million worldwide. Then they found like 20 other million. It was weird one day, and then they took it back out, earning brownie points from Zaslav himself. I told y'all last year, I said, if they get like 500 to 550, they would take victory laps. If they got over that mark and you saw the victory laps, it was a victory laps of relief. Like, oh, this had to work, y'all. We had to make a little profit. Now we're seeing the weekend of Supergirl coming out. They already apologized before the weekend was up. I got to send a message real quick. Okay. We're just getting started. This article was hotter than I thought. Let's see. It says it crucially outgrossing every single Marvel release that year. It was a soft release. It was the first the first time it happened since The Dark Knight. I knew this. That's Humberto right here. This is Humberto talking. The first time since Dark Knight, DC outgrows Marvel films. What was DC up against in 2025? Sam Wilson Cap, which I think they really butchered. They had a grounded story right there. They just, again, mismanagement. They didn't handle that film right. You could have did some cool stuff with Red Hawk, and that was a misfire. Thunderbolts, no, the general audience didn't care about Thunderbolts. And then Fantastic Four, Marvel saw right there, we can't just throw out any character. Like the general audience, Fantastic Four isn't really that like in the fibers of pop culture, not like Superman, not like Batman, not like Spider-Man, right? Avengers is like the newer entry. When you say Avengers, pop culture knows what you're doing with that. Fantastic Four, grandmas don't really know Fantastic Four like that. I'm talking about general audience. That's why going forward with Fantastic Four franchise, Marvel, if they attempt to do a sequel to Fantastic Four, they got to put RDJ in it, or they got to do something, have it tied to Avengers somehow to sell it. So this wasn't the best roster for Superman to go up against for Marvel's sake. You better have beat those. Superman was a more noticeable icon. What about this year? Spider-Man, Avengers come into play. Superman would have got trounced this year. That's Superman. But it was the best since Dark Knight. Amazing. While The Penguin was a critical and commercial hit for HBO, second season of Peacemaker failed to make much of a splash on the TV side. Again, we're back to the honest guy. There's two people writing this article, y'all. When it's positive for Gunn and Safran, that's Umberto. When it's the real, it's this other guy. He's giving it to you for real. Despite positive reviews from critics, some of the planned movies started hitting road bumps. This is a great history, y'all. See, they admitted right there. That's when you thought you had that goodwill for Superman 2025. Then it started plummeting. It started plummeting with Peacemaker season 2. Good stuff here. The Brave and the Bold, a fresh take on Batman, focusing on his relationship with a young Robin. And originally, the second film in the lineup was announced in 2023, but still yet to be materialized. Oh, that was going to be the second film? That should have been the second film. See, this is interesting here. We're going to take our time with this. This is interesting. Again, it says Brave and the Bold was supposed to have been the second film. And this could have worked. This could have worked if they rolled out the DCU like this. You do your new Superman. Okay, it did enough. Then you come with Batman. But this is where the problem came up. The matters were more complicated. Matt Reeves' follow-up, The Batman Part 2, kept hitting delays. But now production's on the way for the sequel, again, to Reeves' Batman. And that's outside Gunn's DC Universe continuity. Juggling development of Brave and the Bold with Reeves' film was tricky. 2 Batmans at once? Probably not a good idea. Definitely, there was some behind-the-scenes stuff here. There was some behind-the-scenes stuff overall here. Because I believe, and again, those of us that was actually given a new iteration of DC a chance, you do the Superman the way you just did it, and then go ahead and do Batman, you would have had a cinematic universe that would have worked. Reeves was the wrench in this entire DCU plan. Reeves was holding out, to complete his contract, his vision, and he didn't budge. You're not folding this into nothing. I think that's what Gunn wanted to do. He wanted to do his Superman. Okay, Reeves is up next. Hey, he's in our DCU. That could have worked for Gunn. Reeves, I believe, held out and was like, no, we're not folding this. I got my Batman contract. We're not playing ball together, bro. we're not playing ball. This is a great article because this is not Humberto Gonzalez, y'all. This is very interesting. And then you got that Sergeant Rock situation. The plug was pulled in pre-production due to script issues. Maybe they should have pulled Supergirl for script issues. The film remains in development, which means it's really not. The director pulled out. So you caught that? So it was script. I wonder how bad really was that script. I don't believe you. Then there's Supergirl. Yee-hoo. Lobo. What went wrong with Supergirl? It was the script, apparently, but you didn't pull this. This is fishy. The development of Supergirl, by most accounts, went pretty smoothly, but a red flag may have been raised when production had trouble securing an actor for the movie's villain, Krim. Several A-listers passed on the role. Gillespie opted to cast Schoenaerts. While not necessarily a household name in the U.S., the hope was that the Belgian actor would help draw in some international audience. Well, that didn't work. Whoever I did that was, they're fired. Okay, we're firing everyone that mishandled this. Safran's fired, Gunn fired, these Supergirl ideas fired. If I'm Ellison, I'm fired. Like, okay, you made this decision, fired. Clean house. The film lacks star power. They're comparing this again to BVS. And it's true. I mean, but again, they act like Momoa's not there. That's it. The biggest star in Supergirl is Jason Momoa, who played Aquaman. Now he's playing Lobo, but his inclusion was seen by many as a transparent attempt to woo men to see the film, and a concern that women alone could not carry the movie. Men carried the movie. Men carried the movie. Women decided not to see this. Let's see. The film was muddled with a critic deemed the muddled action and casual sexism of Momoa's Lobo. He's sexist in the film. What are we doing? Just fire everyone that had any ideas with the Supergirl thing. That y'all mishandled it from the top on down. What's next? Well, next is Lanterns, but they just want to stay in theaters. Okay. Clayface is next in theaters. But the bad pub, again, is there since Peacemaker Season 2, Supergirl. That's 2 L's in a row. Up next, Lanterns. That's going to be a 3rd L. And for the sweep, Clayface. Hitting theaters this fall. Horror-tinged DC movie at a much lower budget of around $40 million. This film was not part of Gunn's initial plans, but it jumped the line when Mike Flanagan submitted a script. Flanagan was too busy to direct himself, so the project went to James Watkins. I don't believe that. I don't believe that's what happened there. And then it went through script revisions. They chopped up Flanagan's script, y'all. Again, Mike Flanagan is on record saying he based his script off of the Batman animated series Feet of Clay 2-part episode. And after he pretty much sold the script, he's like, I'm not directing it. I'm not doing anything. I just sold the script. And they're changing the story. Flanagan said this publicly. So we're not getting Batman animated series. That's not what we're getting. Now the Clayface trailer actually was decent, but I don't trust what they're saying with these stories anymore. After they, again, pretended they were adapting Woman of Tomorrow and they didn't, I'm not going to believe them with this Clayface stuff. The Warner Bros. Insider, this is from Humberto Gonzalez, told The Wrap that the studio is high on the movie, which this individual described as terrifying. Okay, Humberto. Of course y'all high on this movie. Y'all was high on Supergirl, weren't y'all? Until you wasn't. Gunn is in production on his Superman sequel, Man of Tomorrow, which brings back Holt's Lex Luthor to team up with Corn Sweat Superman to fight off the big bad Brainiac. Which I wish Ellison comes in and says, you can't use Brainiac. He's cast by a largely unknown actor. So this is a theme here. Because it is true. I'm going to give them a lot of credit with this article. You got Man of Steel. We're talking about 2013, Man of Steel. Henry Cavill, relatively unknown. I saw some of his stuff when he was younger, like Count of Monte Cristo, and things like that. But no one really knew Henry Cavill. And, you know, you put Michael Shannon. Michael Shannon wasn't like this huge star. He was a respected actor, you know, they put him in Man of Steel. And the film made a profit. It did really well casting an unknown, but the Superman shield definitely helped, right? So when you come with BVS, you needed somebody to draw attention to the box office. Enter Ben Affleck, right? That helped BVS capture everyone's attention. Whether it was mixed reactions to the theatrical cut, Ultimate Edition came home, and everyone likes BVS Ultimate Edition. So the problem they're showing here is that Gunn, Safran, they're not casting stars. Like, they're being really cheap. That's what's going on. They're being really cheap. And you got to add someone to give some pop to these films. I mean, it's over now. I mean, you already uncast the unknown as Brainiac. What's going to be the new hotness to Man of Tomorrow? I mean, Nicholas Hoult isn't some box office gold guy. He's just like what Michael Shannon was, you know. You got to up the ante. And Man of Tomorrow, you're just bringing back the same super family, the Justice Gang, Brainiac, an unknown guy. They didn't make less money with Man of Tomorrow. Since you want to be cheap like this, unreal. I'm just going to say now, your Man of Tomorrow, it's a really good chance it's going to make less money. Where's your Ben Affleck? Where's your Pop? This is bringing back the whole gang. Oh, we're putting Jon Stewart in there. We about to clown the Lanterns in a couple months. This Aaron Pierre, he's not going to help Man of Tomorrow's box office. I'm pretty sure he's not going to do anything cool. Okay? Pretty sure. I'm just, it just kind of dawned on me. Man of Tomorrow ain't gonna really make a lot of money, y'all. You may get the audience back, but you can't even trust this Gunn audience. Y'all didn't support his Supergirl. And I'm thinking y'all gonna come back next summer with Man of Tomorrow in the same droves? No, I don't think. I think Man of Tomorrow's DOA. Yeah, Nathan Fillion is the big actor, right? This is over. Because I like how they laid that out. Like, it's, you know, unknown actors. Yeah. Ain't no juice going in the next summer. Corn Sweat couldn't help Supergirl. Jason Momoa couldn't help. He's the biggest star you've had so far in the DCU, and he couldn't help. It's over. Perhaps the buzziest DC project on the current docket is Lanterns. Buzziest? This is Umberto again. See, each paragraph, they're changing writers. This is Umberto. What buzz is for Lanterns? I've seen clownery. I've seen the Brown Lanterns, people mocking the trailers. This ain't buzzy. It's a true detective-like take on Green Lantern mythology. Terrible decision. Premiering in August. Adding a heap of goodwill to the project is the involvement of Damon Lindelof. This isn't no goodwill. Did you read the papers? Lindelof was crapping on the Lantern IP. What is this? Is Umberto. He can't hide when he pops in this article, man. After that, it's unclear. An individual with knowledge told the Wrap that DC is prioritizing a Bane and Deathstroke movie, but the project doesn't have a director or cast lined up yet. Listen, they can't use this universe is over, y'all. And look, they can go and announce this Bane Deathstroke movie. it's going to fail. This is over. They can't use Batman. The other guy just said in this article already, it was supposed to be Superman and then Brave and the Bold. And really what it was, they wanted to fold Matt Reeves into the DCU, and Reeves said no. That's what killed the DCU right there, that they couldn't use Batman. So you prioritizing Bane and Deathstroke, but not Batman? Because you can't do Batman. This universe is over. This is over. Like the guy said earlier in the article, this is just a glorified production deal. Such a huge fan. He was so pretentious. What are we talking about? You got we talk about all these losses in a row. Peacemaker season 2. They admitted it here. Viewership dropped. Supergirl was one of the biggest bombs in DC history. Only Shazam 2 is going to do worse in the history of DC films. Your answer is to prioritize Bane and Deathstroke? This is the Sony Spider-Man-less verse all over again. See, what I believe is going to happen, I think they're going to do this Bane and Deathstroke project. I think they're going to at least try to greenlight it and get it shot as soon as possible. It's not going to work. This is going to fail. We see right through what's going on right now. This universe is over. This is over. While Man of Tomorrow is due to hit theaters in July 27, it remains to be seen how Ellison will survey the DC landscape if he takes over Warner Brothers, and how heavily he may be inclined to shake things up. For now, Supergirl appears to be DOA. It ain't no appear, it is. All eyes on Clayface. Wonderful article because of not Umberto. This is the goofiest picture. I'm about to screen grab that. That's a terrible picture. You got Adam Chitwood and Umberto Gonzalez. Adam Chitwood stood on business this entire article. This is really his article. Gonzalez came in with a couple of quotes from Warner Brothers, from Shields and insiders to try to not make it look as bad. But this was a great article because Adam Chitwood stood on business. He made it very clear that Gunn and Safran are in trouble. But the greatest quote in this, where are we at here? When Homeboy said, this is just a production deal, right here. This is the highlight of the article right here. Industry insiders who spoke to the Wrap says problems run deeper than one underperforming film. All this is a Gunn and Safran production deal. That's DC Studios, folks. Just a product. You agreed to a package of projects. This is like J.J. Abrams and Warner Brothers type deal. But face only, they made them CEOs. They was like, oh, we can make them like Feige. He said, this isn't a brand. Announcing a universe was dumb. DC created an expectation, and now you have delivered one Superman movie. They are co-CEOs in name only, y'all. Amazing. We got some more quotes we could touch on because I got a little more time than I thought this morning. As I said, if you these types of weekday streams, I'm gonna start putting on the Patreon because YouTube doesn't know how to use my content correctly. It was a great turnout for the weekly shows, but I'm gonna do more frequent stuff for the Patreon. You can catch it live here on X Twitter but the replay will be exclusively on the Patreon, patreon.com/sylabdul. This was very telling. And then we got more. Let's jump to this. The Anna Nogueira, the writer. Yeah, Patreon, we're going to be hitting y'all because on YouTube, like they don't like if I stream 2 days in a row. They make my videos clash with each other. They've changed how their algorithm works. And so I'm still going to put stuff on YouTube. I'm still doing the weekly show Saturdays. I'll put like more clips up and stuff. But we're going to do a lot more with the Patreon. Definitely. So, you remember that talk recently? People was like, they're fast tracking Wonder Woman and you got all these other projects and everything going on. Now you got Umberto saying, oh, they're fast tracking Bane and Deathstroke. So the writer of Supergirl, Anna Nogueira, she talks about the scripts, you know, because people are panning her. I don't respect. That's one thing with Gunn fans. Y'all should have her back much more than what I'm seeing. Snyder fans, we never threw Chris Terrio under the bus. I don't respect. I don't respect Gunn fans just totally bailing on her when it really wasn't her fault. I think they chopped up her script. I mean, it is some bad parts in the script, but this was a sort of a BVS situation where they took out like 25 minutes of her film, Supergirl. So you know, you can't put that on her. Let's see. Let's get to the quote about her upcoming scripts. Here we go. Because automatically people are like, yo, if Supergirl did terrible and she's writing everything, uh-oh. You know what I mean? But not exactly. I mean, I think they're not going to get these other projects out. They're not doing Wonder Woman. Else, they don't have enough time. They just don't have enough time. Now, maybe if they weren't in the middle of a merger right now, closing, you may have had a little more time. They don't have enough time. Their answer after Supergirl flops, their first thought was, let's do Bane and Deathstroke. That's going to fail. Just like Supergirl just failed. But it says here, it says you're a little busy crafting Wonder Woman and Teen Titans, right? What stage are those two in? She says, oh, they're so early. They're in very different stages. I'll say that. They're all just such great characters. I can't believe I get to figure out what I would do with them the way that we did with Kara and Supergirl. But it's still early days on both. They're not happening, y'all. All right, they're not happening. If anything, wouldn't you be fast tracking Wonder Woman or figuring out this Batman situation? Like that guy said, the insider, announcing a universe was dumb. I love that quote. Final thing we'll look at some of Peter Safran's quotes after it was official that Supergirl flopped. Supergirl falters at the box office, testing DC Studios reboot. Again, we start at the top. Whose fault was this? We're going to start at the top. It's a lot of blah, blah, blah in this stuff that we read before. How bad is it? Made less than Morbius. Unreal. As Safran said, while Supergirl didn't meet our box office expectations, it's just one component of a broader long-term strategy at DC Studios that we remain confident in. So he called up and told him this. Hey, we're still confident. A broader long-term strategy. They can have a long-term strategy all they want. They're not going to be there. Safran, you were part of several bombs yourself. Safran should be fired too. James Gunn, all the DC execs that had a hand in Supergirl.
Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on.